I love to share stories about other Black vegans because it can provide so much inspiration and help us not feel so alone. And today I'm talking to Yecenia Currie, who is currently in Ireland and has been traveling the world for the last 18 months along with her husband. And she's also the author of the just newly released cookbook, Sweet and Savory Life. So let's hear her story. I'm here outside in my gorgeous Tanzanian garden. Welcome to Yecenia Currie, to Food for the Soul and another Black vegetarian story. I love to tell these stories or show these stories because there are many different approaches to the plant-based lifestyle, and hearing other people's story and their journey can really help you to discover new ideas that could work for you or give you inspiration. And also, I love to show that we are here. There are many of us, and for so long, I remember when I first went to vegan, a friend of mine told me that I might as well get a white boyfriend. I love to show that there are a lot of us in around the world that are eating this way and living a healthy lifestyle. So welcome.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Amma.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I was able to take a look at your cookbook, and the photos are beautiful. The food looks delicious.
People need to see this food is amazing, right?
Yes. It's always frustrating to me when I get a recipe book and most of the recipes don't have pictures on them or anything, and I don't know what it is this is supposed to look like or be like. So
But what's the end result gonna agree? Yeah.
yeah. So once again, welcome. Tell me where you are right at this moment.
Right this moment, I'm in Ireland, specifically Northern Ireland in Belfast, and then we'll be in Dublin in a few days, but
Uh-huh.
hanging out, traveling the world, looking for good food.
How often do you travel? I noticed on your YouTube channel, you've been all over the place, even close to me in Kenya.
Yeah.
How often do you travel?
Well, we're in a bit of a unique situation right now. We've been traveling nonstop pretty consistently for the last 9 months now.
Wow.
Yeah, straight. And technically for the last 18 months, if I'm being technical about it, we decided we have two children. They're young adult children, 21 and 23. And we decided we knew that once they had graduated high school and they were off to college and were kind of forging their own path, that we were going to take a gap year. 2020 happened and all the things that put a little monkey wrench in it for a little bit. But then we started to travel a bit more and kind of get it in where we could. And then we decided to do that gap year in September of 2022. We've been traveling nonstop, just expanding our minds and our worlds and taking in culture, and it's been amazing. Yeah.
So the gap has extended.
It has, right. We're transitioning now in the next 30 days or so to kind of settle back down for a little bit.
Mhm.
We usually get a little antsy and say, all right, where are we going now? So
I welcome you to come to Tanzania. I would love to take you around here and show you some of the amazing food that's here.
and I accept your invitation, and
And
you will see us at some point in the future. Absolutely.
fabulous, fabulous. So tell me a little bit more about, if you have anything else you want to say about who you are, how what we should know about you to understand who Yesenia is.
Yeah, well, just to give a little backstory in terms of, I guess, how I got started into the plant-based diet, I've been doing it for 14 years now, plant-based vegan for 14 years. I dove straight in. Some people are like, did you ease in? I'm like, no, I went straight in. And I talk a little bit about it in the book. I was feeling, just not good in my body on a regular basis. Um,
Mhm.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that. I didn't feel like I had energy. I had a lot of issues with digestive upset, eczema flare-ups.
Mhm.
And, and I was really into natural and holistic ways of trying to get better or heal things just intrinsically. And so I started being like, okay, what can I do? What can I eat? What kind of changes can I make? And then an episode of Oprah came on, and it was Alicia Silverstone was on promoting her new book, The Kind Diet.
Uh-huh.
And that was my sort of introduction to veganism. And I was like, whoa, this is really interesting. So immediately I bought the book. I devoured the information. I started I'm like really into researching things that I get curious about. So I was like all over the internet trying to figure out, okay, how do I do this? Am I going to do this? And then, so then one day my husband comes home from the gym and I said, hey, I need to talk to you about this thing that I want to do, you know, and I went into like wanting to try this plant-based vegan diet. And I was like, you know, I kind of told him, listen, because the kids at the time were 7 and 9. And I said, you know, I don't have an expectation that we all go in. Um, I'm okay with making separate meals for you and the kids. And he's like, no, that's foolish. You're not making separate meals. Like, we'll do this together. And he wanted to support me, which was amazing. And I
It's a
appreciate,
blessing.
yeah,
Yeah.
an amazing blessing. And thankfully the kids, well, initially I was like, we can dip our toes into the water. We don't have to, you know, go all in. And he's like, nah, we're not doing that. He's from Brooklyn. He's like, no, we gotta go home. So yeah, so it was, you know, it was a bit of a journey. We especially again having school age kids who were used to, you know, the typical you know, Capri Sun, ham and cheese sandwich type vibes for lunch. And I'm like, okay, how are we gonna do this? What are we gonna do? And there was a little bit of overwhelm in the beginning, you know,
Uh-huh.
because it was like trying to wrap my head around, okay, meal planning and what do I buy? And but I took it one day at a time, and thankfully, again, you know, the kids were never really picky about what they ate. As long as it was good, they were game to try anything twice. So yeah, and it's been an amazing journey, and one that it's one of the best decisions that I've made.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Had you had any inkling of veganism, vegetarianism before that Oprah episode?
So I think vegetarianism, yes, not so much veganism. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that there was a step further than
Mm-hmm.
vegetarianism. And I think to your point, a lot of people were used to they could wrap their heads around vegetarianism, but they're like, I don't understand so what does that mean? And they're like, you know, so when they hear the full and complete definition, they're like, okay, so then what do you eat? You know what I mean? And
Yes.
there was a lot of that, like, so what do you? And I'm like, you know, and in the beginning it was, you know, because I'm Black and Puerto Rican. And so both sides of the family and even friends were like, you know, it was hard to wrap their heads around, you know, this lifestyle change for us. But I think modeling it, being examples for the last 14 years, you know, many people are like, you know, have gotten curious and have been like, okay, so I need to know, I need recipes, I need tips, like, how do you do this? You know, you look great, you look like you feel good, you know what I mean? You're vibrant, you have energy, like all of those things. And people get curious. I think that's what's important is that you know, when you're model, you're a model, you know what I mean? Like people see the
Yes.
change and they're like, okay, I want to feel better.
Yeah. And so what kind of things did you put in your kids' lunches?
uh, that's a throwback. So I tried to do initially I think I tried to do like the baby carrots and those kinds of things. And the kids quickly were like, no thanks. Because it's not, you know, it's funny because I'm like, okay, it's not just about the food tasting good, but it's their peers. Like it has to be cool, right? So
Right.
in the beginning, we were experimenting with convenience foods like the soy patties, like the boca patties and things like that for them to so like, okay, you know, so they could have a sandwich, something that they could enjoy, and then like a packed juice, you know. Thankfully now there's a lot more, I think, options on the market that um make it easier to, you know, to be able to
Mhm.
have options and variety for yourself, for the kids. it was a bit of discovery in the beginning, you know, trying to figure out, okay, it's got to taste good. So I would make stuff for them during the week and be like, okay, try this. What do you think of that? If I, because you know, again, school agers, they're used to, I'm used to go, I started opening up their book bags and checking their lunch bags, and I'm like, why is your food here? I'm like, no, we need to, okay, so I need to make sure that if I put this in your bag, you're gonna eat it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
with fresh fruit and just trying to keep it
Mhm.
creative. Yeah, yeah.
Did you have expectation that they would stay vegan when they're not at home, and like when they go to visit friends, was it okay for them to eat, hot dogs or whatever? Or
Mm. Yeah, that's a good question. In the beginning, we didn't really sort of pose it that way. Like you're not allowed to do this when I just explained to them what we were doing and why we were doing it.
Mm,
Um, and we didn't really, I wasn't in the business of trying to micromanage what they did outside. I didn't want to put shame on them and then
uh-huh.
they end up regretting it, right? Or they end up
Right.
resenting rather. And then they end up being like, no, 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 no. I didn't want to introduce it to them in that way or them to have that kind of relationship with it. Um, so yeah, we would just try to create options for them. So it's like, okay, if you're going over a friend's house, maybe we can bring a plate. We can say, what can we bring? So you have, you know what I mean? Those kinds of things. Or then invite people over our home. So then they can be like, oh, this is really good. What is this? You know what I mean? It's really about, being inclusive and creating options as opposed to the dogma of, why did you do, you know?
Right. Right.
um,
And do they still eat plant-based or?
I call them flexitarians.
Uh-huh.
So they know, and I talk about this in the book. It's about planting the seeds of healthy
Right.
eating and living. And so they're going to come back to it because they know intrinsically, they know in their bodies what fuels them. They know what feels good. They know what does,
Mhm.
you have enough bad, then okay, I'm tired of feeling like this, When it gets
Right.
bad
Right.
enough, I tell them when it gets bad enough, then you'll change.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, so they know the things, and like my daughter she doesn't really care for dairy as much. So she usually stays away from that.
Well, speaking of the change, what changes did you notice in your own health or ever your life? Because I
Yeah.
find it's more than just your health.
Listen, that's the truth. And it was literally the gateway, the key that kind of opened up, um, it kind of snowballed into me feeling better, which was the goal. I
Mhm.
started out, I did this because I wanted to feel better myself, but I also um, was tired of hearing or frustrated and heartbroken about hearing about another family member getting diagnosed with another preventable ailment or disease, and just chalking it up to being generational. I'm like,
Right.
and again, I'm reading and I'm like, but that's not really accurate. That's not true. We can get ahead of this. And there are things that we can do and we can take control. We can take control of this. And we have the power to change that. That was the big motivator for me. So
It's hard to watch your family members, your loved ones get sick and die from things that you know they don't have to have.
no, no. Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, that's always been sort of the underlying um, motivator for me. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, so yeah. And I haven't looked back since. I feel like I have more energy. I have just things that, it's funny. It's like you don't know you feel bad until you feel better. You know what I mean? And so
Yes.
it's like, oh, I didn't realize I thought this was my peak. But I have more, oh, this is where my
Mhm.
energy can go. I didn't realize my
Right.
skin could feel like this because I have a tendency towards a drier prone skin. And I'm like, oh, okay, just a lot of little nuances and things like that. And then it sort of snowballed into me being like, okay, I want to work out, but I can't stand the gym. I don't like ellipticals. I don't like treadmills. It's not fun for me. I get bored.
Mhm.
And so, completely not related, I ended up falling into yoga because I was looking for something that was interesting and that I would enjoy. And it wouldn't feel like a chore. And so I
Mhm.
fell into doing hot yoga. And I was hooked immediately. And so, just a lot of these little things just started to, layer together and, and then compounded over time, over years. You know what I mean? It just,
Yes.
the evidence speaks for itself. So,
Yes.
yeah.
How do you think making that change has helped you do the things you want to do in life or be who you really are in life? I mean, one of my coaching, what I call it, is whole and healthy, and I have an online program called Whole and Healthy, because
Mhm.
I feel so much like, for me personally, that it has opened so many doors for me beyond just my physical self.
Mhm.
How do you feel that this has helped you in some ways?
Outside of just like physically, you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think so, yeah. And again, I think it falls back onto things you don't even realize, just in terms of how you interact with people, um, your exchanges, your disposition, the way that you uh, when you feel better, um, then you want, when you're not, it's kind of so like fight or flight, right? When you're in
Mm-hmm.
survival mode, everything in your body shuts down and you can't create, you can't digest, right? You're not in a creative space. Um, but when your nervous system is settled, then you can create. And so I use that to say that when you feel better, then it's like, oh, well, then now I have the privilege, if you will, to be like, to explore other
Mm-hmm.
things, to read different books, to be like, explore my curiosities, get into different things that lead to the thing that leads to the thing that, you know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
I think it's a lot of that. I think it's sort of
Mm-hmm.
naturally by default sort of amplifies and enhances and expands, and if you would breadcrumb it back, it would lead to, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
make that change for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that really irritates me these days is if I'm looking on YouTube and I see all these videos about recipes and things, and they all say high protein this and high protein that.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about that issue? I mean, do you worry about getting enough protein or?
It's funny. In the beginning, I never did. I heard about it just because I was reading things and it was like, oh, and then people just in our interactions with friends and family, people would be like, oh, how do you get your protein? And
The
and
number one question.
right. And we were just like, we get it in everything. And in the beginning, it was just like, I really I didn't understand the question because I'm like, well, do you know how much protein you get on a regular basis with your regular average diet? Do you know, or is that something that you calculate on a regular basis? So it was a strange question. For me, it was strange. Like, why do people keep asking that? And I'm like, do we look malnourished? I think we look, I think we look okay. But I did start to encourage because I knew at the heart of it what people were trying to get to, especially people that were curious and wanting to make a transition. They're like, I want to make sure
Mhm.
that I'm doing it right, that I'm well nourished, which is important. And I always talk about diversity in your diet being the key,
Mhm.
making sure that you're getting when you get hooked to, and I fell in a little bit of this rut before where I found a favorite health food. Like say
Uh-huh.
I'm really, really into kale or I'm really, really into Brussels. And I'm like, that's all I'm eating, right? Because it's good and it's
Right.
easy and it's the flavor of the month, right? But it's not good for you. It's not good for gut diversity. And so that would be that was one of the biggest takeaways I had in terms of diet and making sure that that you stay nutritionally balanced is diversity. So eat the rainbow, not
Hmm.
Skittles, but eat
Yes.
eat eat different colors of vegetables, eat in season, eat organic, eat local. When you eat seasonally, then you get by default how nature works, you get to um, swap out different types of produce that grow in season. It's fresher, it tastes
Hmm.
better, and it does amazing things for your body. Um, Beans, lentils. I don't have to tell you this, but beans, lentils, tofu, all the nuts and seeds. There's so
Hmm.
much, and I think when you approach it from with an optimistic point of view, as opposed to a place of deprivation,
Hmm.
which is what I did. I was like, okay, once I really decided to get creative about this, and started allowing myself to have fun in the kitchen, then I was like, okay, I would be outside, I'm like, there's no hold bars. There's no limits to
Right.
what I can do because now I'm getting excited about it. And so I'd be out at restaurants with the family or with my husband, and then we'd be eating, and he's like, babe, I think you can do this. I think you can make this. I think you can flip it and you can do something better with it. And I'm like, I'm already working. The wheels are already
Mhm.
turning. So, yeah.
Definitely. I know that feeling as well. Yeah, I like your approach. I feel like so much of the health food, natural health food world is so obsessed with the minutia of things, and that and I can't feel like that's normal. I mean, if you look at every other creature, they just eat. They
Yeah.
don't worry. They don't count calories and nutrients and does this got enough magnesium, whatever. They just eat what's their natural diet and they get enough. And to me, isn't that aren't we the same? Why do we need to obsess?
Right. And that's the truth of it. We have enough things going on in our in the world to be overly consumed with, you know, trying to micromanage our diets in that way.
Yeah.
If you approach it from a holistic eating from and that's another thing, is that um quickly I realized, because initially in our transition, I was looking for, okay, substitutes. So I need to
Right.
substitute this, because again, I was trying to figure out, okay, what should my plate look like?
Mhm.
So there were, we were looking for convenience foods, the alternative milks or alternative meats and things like that to try to, but then I'm like, this isn't sustainable. You know what I mean? Like, and so we quickly transitioned into whole food plant-based. And I'm like, no, this is where it's at. This is the gold mine
Mhm.
right here. It's, the whole food plant-based, grown from the ground, deliciousness. That's the key to
Mhm.
thriving on a plant-based, whole food plant-based diet.
Yeah. I find living here in Tanzania, a lot of the fake foods, the fake cheeses, fake meats, and stuff like that aren't available, or if they are available, they're ridiculously expensive. And so
Right.
it's made it much easier for me to not eat those things, which I'm not really inclined to eat it for the most part. I do find when I go to the States to visit my family, I do eat more of that stuff, and I notice it on my body. But here it's like it's not even really much of an option. How have you found that to be? What have you found to be the case in that realm as you travel around the world?
Yeah, that's a good point. It depends on where you're at. Some places have like the little section where they have the vegan cheeses and all the different little products in the refrigerated section. I never really pay attention to them because I'm looking for, well, especially when we're traveling, I'm always looking for, when I don't have access to my own home kitchen or the ability to make our own
Mhm.
foods, then the next best option is looking for places that have home cooked or as close to home cooked meals as possible. I need to feel grounded, I need to be nourished, and I need, I'm like, hold your Beyond Meat, hold your burger, your veggie burgers. I don't want pizza. I don't want nachos. I don't even eat those things, on a regular basis when so it's really about, when you're traveling with the stretch that we've been traveling, I'm like, no, I need really good, so I'm looking for like a lot of um uh, Indian restaurants are
Mhm.
vegetarian options by nature. So we end up enjoying that. A lot of Thai restaurants end up having options also. But yeah, that's been the key in making sure that we don't end up leaning into foods that just don't feel good and we end up paying for it when we wake up the next day.
Right. What have you discovered? What unique fruits, veggies, or something have you discovered in your? Where
Mm.
was the where was like your favorite place to eat, like country or
Yeah,
area?
that's a tough. The first one that came up for me, just because I'm a foodie and I'm like, oh, there's so many good options. The first place that came to mind was Thailand,
Uh-huh.
Chiang Mai, Thailand. We spent 2 months out there, and we found a couple of restaurants that we got to know. We started building relationships with the owners,
Mhm.
which we love to do, and so they know our story, we know theirs. And then now they're treating us like family. They're like, ooh, they're like, this is off menu. Here, try this, have this. My mother made some homemade kimchi, and I'm like, yes, thank you, give it to me. But yeah, so feeling like we're a part of community, and eating,
Mhm.
they're making things like fresh vegetables and tofu and all the things, just taking the Thai cuisine and making it deliciously plant-based. It's super easy. The curries, that's
Mm.
one of the places that we were like, we always ate well.
Sounds delicious.
Never felt bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, and I think a close second is Jamaica,
Uh-huh.
just because that's where my husband's originally from. And so when we go there, we eat good. And my mother-in-law grows everything that she makes. So we eat
Wonderful.
off the land, and I remember the first time when we went, this was, gosh, it's gonna be, I think it was back in 2018. And this was actually my first trip there. And my mother-in-law made a meal for us. And it was super simple. She made some steamed cabbage, some kalaloo, which is similar to like collard greens. They're green.
Mhm.
She made green bananas, which like a savory boiled bananas. She made what they call aki, which is a fruit that's indigenous to there, but it's not sweet. It's savory.
Mhm.
I like how jackfruit is. It's got fruit in the name, but
Uh-huh.
it's not sweet. And when I tell you, this was our welcome meal when we landed and we got in and we ate. So it was at night. I ate. And it was a little late. So I was like, oh, I don't want to eat too late, but I'm starving. So we ate, we went to bed. I think we got to bed at like 11 or 12 midnight. But I was up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 6 in the morning. And I was like naturally not groggy, just kind of, and I noticed it immediately. And I looked over at my husband and I'm like, I feel really good.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And I was like, aha, I noticed right away how my body was responding to the food, the quality of the food. And so yeah, that's a close second for like
Mhm.
food favorites of mine. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're making me hungry. I'm on day 15 of a fruit fast, so I'm not eating any of that kind of stuff right
Okay.
now.
Solution. Right.
Thank
Oh,
you. Uh, Tell me some about your process of writing your cookbook.
yeah. Well, it's something that always was kind of there. I always knew that eventually I wanted to write something, just because along this plant-based journey, I've always had friends and family be like, send me a recipe.
Mhm.
And what's funny about that is I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll share something, because I was just kind of doing stuff in the kitchen. And then, sometimes if they would have something, they'd be like, it's really good. Can you send me a recipe? And then, so at the time I would put together this like line item of ingredients, and I would like put a lot of thought into the description and how to put it together, and email it to several people. Um, and they'd be like, thanks, appreciate it, cool. And I'm like, do you know how much time and effort this took to put into this? And a lot of people meant well, but I'm like, people just flippantly kind of be like, I want options. I want to know I don't know what to eat. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
eventually I need to put something together. I need to create a cookbook. And then also it came from a place of not really seeing, there's a lot of good cookbooks out there, but in terms of vegan cookbooks that focus on whole food plant-based options. And then it was important not just to showcase really good food, that's important because it's a cookbook, but I also wanted to highlight the importance of conscious cooking and eating and living.
Mhm.
So it's not just about what you eat, but how you eat, how you prepare the food, right? I talk about in the book, creating a sacred space in your kitchen, in your home, cooking with love and intention. All of those things so preparing your space, preparing your mind and body to create this, nourishment for yourself and for your family. So those things were important to include, among other things, to include in the book along the way. So it's like stories and tips and holistic tips and practical tools, along with delicious, uh, plant-based
Mhm.
deliciousness. So yeah, that was the spark for me. I was like, I want something that I would want to read. It's got to have beautiful pictures. It's got to have, it's a combination for me of nutrition meets flavor. So it's got to be wholesome. It's got to be really good, for your body. But it's got to taste good.
Mm-hmm.
Foodie. So flavors, textures, colors, all of those things are important for me. So all of that went into the sort of foundation for creating this book, this labor of love.
And the name, excuse me, the name of it again is
Sweet and Savory Life. Yeah.
Sweet and Savory Life. And when I get back to the States, I'm planning to get a hard copy of it.
Yeah.
The recipes look delicious.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's broken up into it starts off with the sweet. And so there's sweet based recipes, from breakfast options to dessert options. And then the savory part two, with all kinds of different savory dishes.
Do you think after all your travels, you'll want to write another, like a part two?
I don't know. I don't know. That's something that somebody asked me that too. I was like, you know what? I'm focusing on the sweet and savory right now, but I'm open. So, if something comes up, I think I pay attention to listening to creatively where I'm led. And so I'm open to the possibility of it, but.
So it sounds like in your travels, you've done a lot of eating at other people's food.
Mhm.
Have you had an opportunity to check out like supermarkets or markets or however people buy their food? Have you had a chance to compare what it's like to buy food in America as opposed to other places?
No, no. There's been a couple times when we were able to, because I love a good farmer's market. When I'm home and when I'm settled, that's where I love to. I could spend a Saturday afternoon just walking by stands and looking for what's in season and what's fresh and just what speaks to me, what looks good that I can cook with. So we'll look at that just to kind of be like, ooh, that looks good, or if somebody has something that we can try. But nothing that I bought myself, just because we weren't cooking for ourselves the past 9 months. But I can tell you that you just made me think about when we went to Romania last May. We have some friends that live out there, and she was actually going to be making a trip back to go to visit her parents. She told her parents that we were vegan, and they were like, "What?" Like, and so she wanted to make a meal for us. And I love, love that her mother got excited about the challenge of making something different and embraced it and was excited about it. And her mom went out and did some shopping and bought some things and created, I think we did a YouTube video about it also. And created this beautiful spread, beautiful but simple spread. And it made me think about, because she made, I think it was cucumbers and tomatoes with like a little vinaigrette and some onions. And when I tell you, that was like those tomatoes were the most delicious. The brightness, the redness. I was like, I have not seen this red of a tomato in, I don't know how long. It was so juicy and plump. It was almost like you could eat it like you'd eat an apple. You wouldn't think twice. And when we went into it, looking at it, I was like, oh, this looks beautiful. We're gonna like it. And so we went into it, and I took the first bite, and I was like, and my husband, we both looked at each other, and we had that look, and I was like, wow. And he was like, right?
Nice.
We both had that instinct of like, and then we looked and we were like, what did you do with these tomatoes? She just, my mom starts laughing immediately, and she's like, these are Romanian tomatoes, and they're really good. Like, but that's just an example of the quality of, how good, you think about a tomato, and I ordinarily wouldn't have geeked out over a tomato. I wouldn't have thought that I would geek out about a tomato.
Right.
But when it was that good, and I'm like, it's just cucumbers and tomatoes, but it was such an experience, eating it, and I'm like, okay, this is an example of, the beauty of eating not just healthy food, but consider the source, and eating,
Right.
seeking out, high quality
Yeah.
food.
Not the cardboard tomatoes you can usually find in supermarkets.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Growing your own food is really a blessing if you have the space and the time ability to do that. And I feel like most everybody can squeeze out a corner on a balcony or front porch or by their front door or something for a pot or something,
Mm-hmm.
to put something in.
Right, agreed. Yeah, I wasn't really blessed with a green thumb, but I much respect to the people that do and cultivate and grow their own
Mhm.
Share some with
Yeah.
me, please.
When you come to Tanzania, I'll have to take you to Sokoku, the Central Market, which is a feast for the senses, and it's just I love going to most of my shopping and just the mamas that are there selling their produce, and it's just colors, and it's just it's
I love
amazing.
it.
So
It sounds beautiful. I love a good market. I love a good outdoor market, so I'm game.
yeah, good, good, good. Let me see. Any suggestions you have for people who are either new to the plant-based lifestyle or have been trying to do it for a while but are struggling? Any suggestions you have on how to be successful?
Mm. I think the first thing I would say is give yourself grace, pace yourself, don't beat yourself up. I think a lot of times, especially in our culture, we want to attack things like it's a goal and we want to do it and we want to do it right. And it's good to have that sort of enthusiasm and passion, but I think when you start to it defeats the purpose, I think, when you approach it from with a legalistic approach and I did it
Mhm.
wrong or I messed up or um I say so taking it one day at a time, I think is massive for sure. I think the second thing I would say is um, consider the source. Again, trying to look for foods that are of the highest quality that you can afford, wherever
Mhm.
you're at. Looking for farmers markets, fresh, whole, as organic if you can. Um, but buy the best quality food that you can, as close to grown from the ground as possible if you can. Um,
Mhm.
and I would encourage diversity again, like we talked about before, diversity in the diet, making sure that you're getting, lentils and beans and tofu and nuts and seeds and grains and all different types of produce in season. Yeah, those are
Mhm.
probably the top three things.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. I always say your failures are your keys to success. When you mess up, this is opportunity to learn. Oh, what do I need to do differently?
Listen, that's a fact, right? Here's what I'm not going to do the next time.
Right. Oh, these two things don't go well together for me anyway.
And you bring up another great point. Listen to your body. That is
Mhm.
another key. And I talk about that in the book also, listening to our bodies. I think there's such a disconnect, what
Mhm.
I mean, with people with consumption, how us
Mhm.
taking things in and really paying attention to how things are landing on us. You know,
Right.
and I'm talking about any and everything. It's not
Right.
just applies to food, but it's the things that we consume, what we hear, what we watch, the
Right.
things we say, the conversations that we have, the foods that we consume. Um, Paying attention to how those things land in our body. You're like, uh, every time I have a conversation with this particular person, I walk away not feeling good. I don't know, it's just something that doesn't feel good in my body.
Mhm.
Listen to your body.
Listen to that. That's
There
right.
might be something to that. Don't, it's I think we have a habit of squelching or, being like, I'm just being paranoid. You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean? Or every time I eat this particular food, and what happens is, because I was guilty of this also, it tasted good in the moment, but it was
Mhm.
good for me based on how my
Mhm.
body was responding to
Right.
it after the fact, right? And so paying attention to those cues, listen, and then adjust.
Right.
Because again, those little whispers, those little nudges, those little pebbles, over time become boulders, and then you end up,
Mhm.
the message is louder and louder,
Right.
you
Hey, you
know,
didn't pay attention to me last time.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's key.
And also, not everything that's supposed to be healthy is necessarily healthy for, each person. Like,
Mm.
some food that's supposed to have all these nutrients, but for you, it just, makes your stomach upset every time
And you bring
or
up yeah, that's a valid point because especially I've been really, really kind of nerding out in the last couple of years about gut health. Uh,
mm-hmm.
because, and I talk about in the book, I talk about you are what you digest. So we hear you are
Uh-huh.
what you eat. You are what you eat. But I think a step further than that is you are what you digest. Because what does
Mm-hmm.
it matter? What does it matter if you're eating all of these high quality foods? If your body doesn't have, your gut doesn't have the ability to break them down and assimilate the nutrients to give you,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah. The last question I always ask people is, do you think being plant-based is important for people of African descent, and why or why not?
absolutely, yes. Yes. The short answer, yes. And for all of the reasons I think that we covered in the conversation thus far, I'll bring it back to one of the reasons, the main reasons that I started going plant-based in the beginning. I was like, I don't want to wait to get, I don't want to wait to get a diagnosis to make a change. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
wait to, hear bad news about, you know, get a medical condition to be diagnosed with something to then start making changes. I want to get ahead of it. I want to get ahead of this thing and I want to not just live but thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I want to survive. I want to thrive. I want to I want to live a vibrant uh long and healthy life. And I want to have the energy to be able to do the things that I want to do well into my years, my latter years. Those are all things that are important. Um, I think you have to find your why and what's important for you. But I think for the Black community, especially, the kinds of foods that traditionally uh, we eat or we're aren't necessarily good for us. And I don't think that it means that you decide to forsake those traditions. I think for me, it's always been important to say, okay, well, how can I put a healthy spin on this? What can I do to still enjoy the tradition of, because a lot of times it's about community, right? We come together,
Right.
we commune through food. Um, and that's a huge part of how we relate to one another. And so I think it's about saying, and that was one of the exciting things for me was being able to get in the kitchen and be like, okay, how can I take this and make it healthy? But not just healthy, but taste good, right? Like it,
Mm-hmm.
that's the magic. Yeah. And so I think it's not about saying, no, we can no longer eat these things. It's how can we find healthier alternatives to those things so that we can, again, live long and healthy lives and not fall into the belief of, well, this is just generational. My family, my daddy, my uncles, my everybody, my ancestors, everybody had it. And it's and just sort of accepting it as the inevitable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, wanting more and then doing something about it. I think it's empowering to know that you have control over this thing. This is something that you have control over, that you can manage the outcome,
Yes.
by the
Yes.
decisions that you make. So I
Yeah.
think that's key.
Yes. Yes. I agree 100%. As they would say in Swahili, kabisa, which means like for sure, totally.
Uh, yeah.
Anything else you would want to say before we take time for you to toot your horn and tell us where to find you?
I was just sharing with someone. I just shared it on my social media post because my book officially launched on March the 1st.
Aha.
So we had a pre-order from early February, and so people were pre-ordering their books. And so when the books started coming in the last week or so, people were sharing the good news. I got mine. I got mine. Um,
Wonderful.
and so there was the superficial outward excitement of, oh, I'm so excited, everyone got my book. But bigger than that was that my hope and intention for this book. and what I want people to walk away with. And that's, I want them to um, enjoy cooking in their kitchens, enjoy making good food for themselves and their families. I want them to walk away changed and moved in some way,
Mhm.
to find joy, find comfort, find laughter, find entertainment in this book, and walk away, feeling excited and motivated to get in the kitchen and eat good food, make and eat good food. So
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. I didn't realize it had only just been released.
yes, 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 yes.
Ah, okay, fabulous. Well, I wish you best of luck with that. And if I will put the link to your book in description. But where else can people find you?
So you can go to my website, YeceniaCurrie.com. It's my first and last name. Um, and that you can get all details, things about me. You can purchase the book, sign up for my newsletter, find out about future and upcoming events. And you can connect with me on Instagram. The handle is at Sweet and Savory Life.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I appreciate you coming on Food for the Soul and talking about your journey. And I'm sure that you will have touched many people, and many people will find inspiration and hopefully buy your book as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the conversation. It was enriching and I enjoyed
Great,
it.
wonderful.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I look forward to a continued relationship going forward.
Likewise. Yes.
So I will say Safari and Jama, which means have a good trip wherever it is you're going next.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.